Hello, everybody. Chris, Lee, and Jay Greeson of Southeastern 16 here to preview Austin Peay's road trip to Georgia. That's going to be 2:30 Central on the SEC Plus, so get your ESPN app ready. I don't think there's a line on this one at FanDuel, Jay. FanDuel is the place that sponsors our content. It's got player props, futures, and more, same-game parlays, an SGP menu that is deep and impressive. You can build some fun combinations around player performances and game outcomes. It's got you covered with competitive odds and tons of betting options. Just remember to bet responsibly and have fun with it. Jay, no line on this one at FanDuel. My model's got it, which is usually pretty close to what the line is, Georgia by 42. But what's FanDuel got? I think there was some interesting Gunnar Stockton stuff maybe over there that you were looking at.
Well, there's a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of people who blow back about the week one overreaction. Gunnar Stockton has now moved up in the Heisman odds. He's ahead of Arch Manning. Gunnar Stockton he's even with Arch Manning now. A lot of sharps have bet Arch Manning, who was the favorite, dropped to plus 1,800 after the Ohio State game. And now Gunnar Stockton and Arch Manning are tied with Cade Klubnik at plus 1,400 to win the Heisman. Of course, that number would be third in the SEC. Garrett Nussmeier is now your front runner at plus 800, and Lenora Sellers is at plus 1,000. But I think in the overreaction, or at least in the bookies reaction, the line reaction from FanDuel, Georgia now has the best odds to win the college football playoff among any SEC team, right behind Ohio State and Penn State at plus 650. And they have the best odds. They have passed Texas to have the best odds to win the SEC championship. Georgia is plus 270, Texas plus 290, and that is close to double what is next, which is LSU at plus 550.
Well, speaking of Gunnar Stockton, who knew Gunnar Stockton could run? Touchdown scrambles of 13 and 11 last week. Georgia, hey, whatever your opinion was of the Bulldogs, and I get it was Marshall, a team completely rebuilding after Charles Huff just took the roster and ran to Southern Miss. But it was a Kirby Smart special. You beat Marshall 45-7. 27-7 edge in first downs. The offense ran for 239, threw for 249. So you get balance. 12 guys catch balls, no turnovers. I mean, it's pretty much everything you wanted to see offensively that you would have wanted to see from Georgia. And there's a couple things I want to see maybe additionally this week. I'll get into those later. And defense, look, it allowed 270 yards, forced 11 punts. The one score was an 84-yard drive early in the fourth quarter where Georgia probably had third-string guys in. I don't think there's anything that you saw in Georgia week one that budges your opinion on them in a negative way.
In a negative way, I completely agree with that, Chris. And I loved your phrase right there because it's a Kirby Smart special. And you may hear me say that again when we get to the end of this this preview when it comes to picks. But if we're not going to pick nits with what Georgia did and just punching Marshall in the face early and often and then just letting everybody go about their business, I think if you're a Georgia fan, you're tickled 12 ways of Tuesday by how Zachariah Branch looked with the ball.
Yeah.
That guy is, and again, with all caveats that, yes, it was Marshall. There weren't many teams, whether it's Marshall, whether it's Alabama, whether it's the Miami Dolphins. Branch was fast in a football way that it didn't matter who was on the other side of the field.
Yeah. I'm going to hit on that in a little bit. Let's talk Austin Peay for just a second. Hey, the Governors went to Middle Tennessee State, which is probably the schools are separated by maybe a little more than an hour, and beat former Vanderbilt coach Derek Mason's team. In fact, beat them decisively, 34-14. Held MTSU to 153 yards of offense, 2.6 yards per play. Now, MTSU is probably a bottom five team in the FCS. It did run the ball 47 of 74 plays, although not very effectively. That was a get the lead and kill the clock. So you know what Austin Peay wanted to do week one. But hey, this is a much different ball game against a Georgia defense that showed up and answered the bell a week ago.
I agree with you. I think MTSU very well could be a bottom 5 team in the FBS, but that's in no way to downplay what is an unbelievable. It ended a 12-game losing streak to MTSU. It's their first FBS win since beating Kansas State in 1987. If you're Austin Peay, and let's tip the visor, they've got the best cheer in college sports. Because when they get rolling, it's let's go Peay. I mean, who doesn't get to a ball game and have to go let's go Peay, right? They're embracing every fan.
You just hope the lines aren't long. I am a little worried that the lines for concessions are going to get long at halftime in this one because, hey, that's a program. I'm not too far from that campus, maybe an hour away. They've had some rough times. They've done a tremendous job in building the brand of their football program. But hey, this is
one of my good buddies helped jumpstart it. Will Healy was from Chattanooga and has been a kid I've covered since he was a quarterback at Boyd Buchanan. Went over there before he jumped to Charlotte and kind of shook the program awake about what is possible with the governors.
Yeah, and Jeff Ferris, their coach, appears to be doing a good job. 4-8 last year. He's a young guy. He's 35. And this is I feel like this is a team Georgia's played before. And Georgia doesn't always put pedal to the metal in these games. We'll get into predictions in just a minute and maybe tell you some things I'm kind of watching for. Look, spoiler alert, Georgia's going to win the game, but we'll talk about maybe some things we want to see. First, a reminder, we're brought to you by GameTime SIDEKICKS, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. Every SEC school, over 350 others. Everything from stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SE16 for the 20% discount to viewers at GameTimeSidekicks.com. Also presented by ROKFORM. ROKFORM.com is where you go. The world's strongest magnetic phone case. Super strong magnets offer extreme protection with RockLock secure mounting. Has the same military-grade standards with case accessories as the actual cases. You can drop your phone in a ROKFORM case. You're going to be fine. SEC 25 for 25% off at ROKFORM.com. Also, HOVI Dry Goods, new sponsor. It's going to be your new favorite hat. Look no further than HOVI hats for high-quality headwear with a great fit and unique designs. Use promo code BAMA. They're doing a bad beat special. Go to HOVI, HOVI, drygoods.com. Enter that promo code. I think you get about 15% off your order this week. They make great hats. Check those guys out, too. All right, Jay, picks. Kirby Smart has had a habit of taking his foot off the gas. I mean, this could easily be a 35, 38-0 type game. I don't think the score is going to be that important here. I just say with Georgia, let's see maybe a little bit more of a running back emergence. It was kind of committee last week. Probably will be again this week. You'd like to see a guy break a big run and just play smart. Don't get hurt. Don't get sloppy with penalties. And move on to next week in which Georgia is going to have, oh, goodness, big game with Tennessee. So a possible look-ahead spot, too, for Georgia here.
It's not a habit, brother. It's a way of life. And he learned a lot of great things from Nick Saban. And I will sit here and tell you that I think Kirby Smart's the best coach in the country, and it's a hill I'm willing to die on. But he learned a lot of it from Nick Saban. Recruiting, a lot of the defensive things he honed, especially in the secondary. But Saban had a habit of letting off the gas in overmatched, non-conference. Saban would crush teams if he thought he had to recruit against you. So he would kill Clemson when he played out of conference. He would hammer Wisconsin. He would teams, if he thought you could possibly be in the living room after him, he wanted to punch you in the face. in these games, Saban always took his foot off the gas, but not to the level Kirby does. Kirby Smart in games favored by 38 or more points against the spread is 0-13-1.
Ooh.
That's not a tendency. That's a maxim. I mean, that is the way he operates. So if your computer model is close to 42, look, if you can find on FanDuel as we get closer to kickoff, first half numbers, which is the only play I would even come close to recommending, Georgia is 100% going to win the football game, and they're going to win it by multiple touchdowns. But any guy who gets sneezed on crooked is going to have to go take his shoulder pads off, because they're going to need all hands on deck next week when they face the Vols.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one. We'll talk about Georgia when it's done. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And leave us a nice comment, thumbs up. That helps our analytics. We cover baseball, football, basketball here year-round at Southeastern 16. Remember, FanDuel is your place where you can get your odds, your parlays, all those kind of things. So Georgia, Tennessee, I think, is that game already on the board at FanDuel? I believe I saw that yesterday.
Let me see if I can pull up.
Jay, what do we have on FanDuel for Tennessee, Georgia next week?
Well, it has grown. It is now in Knoxville. The homestanding Vols are catching 7.5 points with an over-under of 51.5. Boy, oh boy, I got to tell you, if I'm going to play one early right there, I am all about some over, because that feels like a whole lot of speed on the perimeter on both sides. And I know Tennessee's defense has traditionally been good under Tim Banks, but Georgia's better than Syracuse, and Syracuse almost got to 30. So marquee game next week that everybody in the SEC will be watching, because both of those teams are going to cruise this weekend, walk in there 2-0, and put some resumes on the table.
Yeah, interesting. My model's got Tennessee by about 4, Georgia by about 4 in that one. So, but that's been a matchup that Kirby Smart is kind of owned here in his tenure in Athens. Anyway, we'll talk about that next week. Of course, this week we'll talk about Austin Peay and Georgia when it's done. Again, subscribe to the channel, and you'll catch all that. For Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16. God bless you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.